ओके, सहना हो तो सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। शांति शांति शांति। One minute is there. Yeah, it's 6:30. We will start. Today it's all about Anthakarana, inner instruments. Everything about the mind. We have heard these lines taken by Swami in many discourses. Amrita Bindu Upanishad says, Mana eva manushyana karanam bandha mokshayo bandhyaya vishaya saktam muktam nirvishayam spritam. Mind alone is the cause of bondage and freedom for human beings. Mind is attached to sense objects. Mind which is attached to the sense objects is the cause of bondage. Mind which is devoid of the desire for objects is considered free. So bondage for human beings arises when mind is attached to sense objects. Mind gets enslaved, restricted, limited to sense objects, and it undergoes sorrow most of the times. Same mind is the cause of freedom for human beings when it is devoid of desire for objects and it is in bliss. All sadhanas have a central theme, one theme: to have an orderly mind that does not create obstacles. This is at the preliminary level. The highest goal we all know is liberation. When we begin, the sadhanas are undertaken because man's mind, before he starts sadhana, sincere sadhana, not time pass sadhana, sincere sadhana, man undertakes because his mind has gone wayward everywhere. Unrest, restless mind traveling at a speed more than the light of the light. So it has to be brought and it has to be controlled first of all. Then it can be channelized. Then it can be used for contemplation, various stages. We are talking about bringing the mind, the running thoughts together and reducing the thoughts. So this is the purpose of the sadhana in the initial stage. If the mind is trained, ultimately you will attain freedom. If the mind is not purified with discipline, it will suffer from hallucination for ages. Those who do not know sadhana keep on fighting with the mind. They will keep on fighting with the mind until the last breath. Like the body is our external instrument, we have got 4 internal instruments. Bahir, Anta. Anta, Karana. Inner instruments. What Swami says about inner instruments, how he defines. Students, the manas, the buddhi, the chitta, that is memory, and ahankara, ego, constitute the antakarana of the mind. What is the meaning of antakarana? Swami says, karana means instruments. Therefore, antakarana means inner instruments. Many describe these in so many complex ways, but it is actually very simple to understand. The eyes see outside, the ears hear outside, the tongue speaks outside, the hands performs outside activities, the nose detects smell outside. All these have a certain form, but the mind has no form. The intellect has no form. The memory has no form. And even the ego, subtler ego, has no form. The collective formlessness of these 4 instruments, they come together and assume a bigger form than any of the external instruments. Swami says. Antakarana consists of manas, chitta, buddhi, ahankara. So first we will still in YouTube yet to discover from our side any ways of showing images or slides also. So no, afterwards he will send it. When you get the session, you will have it. You see this carefully while he explains. On one side, this is going to be the key image which will be referred to through the entire sessions. So on the one side, we see like the cycle spokes, we see 4 spokes. Manas, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. Okay, these are the inner instruments. And through the gateway of mind, they reach out to the world, what we call as export for simple understanding. They reach out to the external world through 5 karma indriyas, combination of the 5 karma indriyas. They reach out to the world, and through what? Through actions. And once the actions are performed, the impact of the action or the impressions of the action are again imported back through the jnana indriyas, 5 jnana indriyas. Where they are imported, what happens, and all that is the subject matter of today's satsang. You keep this image very clear in your mind. Manas, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara. So combination of any one or more than one of them, thoughts gets converted to actions with the influence of Buddhi or Chitta or Ahankara or more than one of them. It enters the gateway of mind, and through the karma indriyas, this thoughts, mind is a bundle of thoughts, Swami has said. So, through the influence of either Buddhi or Ahankara or Chitta, or maybe Ahankara and Chitta, Buddhi is always alone, discriminative faculty. Through this, the thoughts enter the gateway of mind, gets converted to actions through the five jnana indriyas, any one of them, and the effect of the actions, they come back through the jnana indriyas, organs of perceptions, and they go somewhere in this area. We will deal with that now. So four of them. Manas remains busy in sorting out and understanding the things going on in the external world, because this is the Manas is the gateway. Manas is the uh, intermediary. It is the agent which is interacting with the inner instruments, because the thoughts travel through mind, and it is also the gateway which is interacting with the world, external world. It is in between. Buddhi is that which discriminates and decides what to do and what not to do. Ahankara is busy in understanding itself, understanding the human being in a lower, limited way. Chitta is we read samskara, vasanas, vritti, karma, right, in the karma session. All the impacts of the actions, impressions of the actions get stored, like we deposit our cash, they get stored in this memory bank called chitta, which get converted to samskaras. And samskaras get converted to vasanas, tendencies. Tendencies get converted, or with tendencies impact or influence our vritti, thoughts. Then thoughts get converted to actions with the combination of ahankara, or if man rises above the influence of samskaras, if they are not good, then through the buddhi, kriyamana karma, white arrows. Now about the 10 indriyas. We have seen it, but just have a look exclusively the external part. Okay. The export and the import. Actions are performed through karma indriyas, and the impact of the actions gets inward, imported back through jnana indriyas. Now we have got the clue where they go when the impact, impressions, when the impact of the, suppose we are propelled by ahankara or propelled by chitta ahankara, we have done some action. That action leaves some impact. Where it goes naturally, now we have just now told about that. The impressions, the impact of the action travel through the jnana indriyas and go to the chitta bank, memory bank. Okay. This cycle continues. There are innumerable deposits going on in the chitta and immediately getting converted to samskaras. This is an ongoing process, day in and day out, except for the meditation time when we are able to be thoughtless. Thoughts are also in effect actions. Thoughts also build karmas. Don't think that only action will add to karmas. The moment our thought starts, then the cycle continues. So man is getting his vasanas from where it is coming, samskara. Samskara where? Through the chitta. And chitta, where is the deposit? The impact of the actions. So it is like this cycle, never ending cycle, till man gets liberated. Now, today's scope is to get into the detail of the four manas, buddhi, chitta, ahankara, especially ahankara. Certain things which some of us may not have known till now at all. Though he might have spoken about it, written about it in the blog post, many times it would have flown, but our ears would have heard it and then we would have left it. Today, the focus, Swami willing, the focus aim will be to get these things registered in our mind. First, we will talk about mind. There is a very interesting, this is, Raja Yoga is based on this. The individual mind, although separated from the minds of the others, a mind, though seemingly separated from the minds of B, C, D, E, F, etc., the separation is a very thin wall. Actually, man is connected with the universal mind, all the minds of all, always. It is some other thing that he is not able to feel it or he is not able to experience it. He is not making efforts to know about it. Suppose A is a friend of B. A's mind is connected with B's mind. A's mind is connected with the minds of many friends and relatives of A. B's mind is connected with friends and relatives of B. In turn, A's mind is also gets connected to the minds of all the friends and relatives of B. B's mind gets connected with all the friends and relatives' minds of A. All are interconnected. The foundation of the Vibhu theory in the Raja Yoga. Okay. Why we are not able to feel it? Because we have not reached that advanced stage in sadhana. Why the Siddha Purushas or the Jnanis or the Yogis, they are able to know about all the minds of all? It is very simple. There is no miracle involved in that. The more you practice yoga, the more you evolve in sadhana spontaneously. Not to speak about him, but just to drive home this fact. Few of you who are in the satsang now, they will know how many times, in how minute ways your minds have got connected with this mind, and he has told so many things about your minds. You all will know. He is just putting the fact, not speaking about himself. Depending upon the samskaras, very interesting. There are various types of mind. Bengali mind, South Indian mind, Punjabi mind, like that. Bengal is for devotion and art. Punjab, the mindset is of bravery. Okay. South Indian mind, intellectual and very, very sharp in science and mathematics. So we can go back to the history. Bengal has produced emotional saints because emotion and art. So depending upon that samskara, Bengal has produced saints like Gauranga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, all emotions and devotion. South Indian mind, intellectual, has produced Ramanuja, Shankara. Punjab has produced bravery, Guru Gobind Singh, Guru Tegh Bahadur Singh, etc. The sadhana and the path of yoga will vary accordingly as per the type of the mind. Now, few lines about the power of the mind. The power. Don't think that mind is bad or mind is to be condemned or not. Nothing like that. We started with that verse. Manameva manushyana. Okay. Bandha or mochana. Bondage or liberation. For both, mind is the cause. So mind is very, very, very powerful. The power of the mind cannot be described through words at all. Terrific psychic abilities are the expressions of the mind. When it nears the all-powerful Vibhu, all-powerful consciousness, which is the very existence of power itself. The greatest Siddhi, we learned Samarkand Bhajan, you remember? Riddhi Siddhi ke tum ho data. Ganapati Deva. You remember? The greatest siddhis and riddhis are all the effects of working of the highly purified mind. There is no magic or miracle. Like in the Mansarovar, you can see through the sun as clear as you can see direct. It is very simple. The purer your mind becomes, the more powerful. It is already powerful. The power of the mind manifests. The more and more you get purer here, the more and more impure the mind is. Impure the mind is. Mind, heart, soul, he kept it. The more impure the mind is, it is more restless, agitated, less power, less concentration, less achievements. Mind and happiness. This is the starting point. The first 4-5 posts in the blog, 2016 December. The first ever session which he gives to everybody, purpose of human birth. Happiness has been the aim of every human being. All activities except the Nitya Karma which we undertake, bathing, etc. Any activity undertaken by a man is always for fetching happiness. From the lowest level, exercising the lowest passion, up to meditation, up to satsang, up to that, everything is for happiness. But as he often says, he uses wrong apparatus, he uses wrong approach for the right motive. The right motive is happiness. But instead of trying to find it inward. Swami says happiness is within, happiness is inside, happiness is inside. True happiness is within, Swami says. Instead of striving to find it inside, the motive is very genuine, but man ends up running from pillar to post all through the world, through hundreds of relationships, through hundreds of objects to find that happiness. The motive is right, but the direction is wrong. So life is full of disappointments. Okay, this is the fate because students, our karana as well as our indriyas, to know that only through inward journey we can have the permanent happiness, which is bliss, undiluted, concentrated bliss. But we run hither and thither. We run from pillar to post like monkey. It can never be satisfied eating something at one tree. It will just tuck, 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 and then it will throw, jump, 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 jump. Man's whole life is lost in this way. Jumping, 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 jumping. So initial sadhana is to deal with this mind. 50% you have, if you have conquered your mind, 50-60% sadhana achieved. Then nididhyasana, then meditation, or then atmanivedanam, devotion expanding to love, or yoga, kriya yoga, or whatever. Okay, then you go for the higher level. Now, buddhi. We covered mind. Now we are coming to buddhi. In buddhi, this easy example is given for a very easy grasping and understanding. He runs a manufacturing industry. So in a manufacturing company, there are these laborers, labor people, and there is a supervisor, and there is a general manager. In the diagram which we saw, in this, keep it in your mind for a minute. The labors are the ahankara, chitta and ahankara. The foreman or the supervisor is the manas, who has to actually churn out the production. The general manager is the buddhi. The supervisor has to go either by what the laborers are saying or by what the general manager is saying. He has got the choice. Rare is an industry where the laborers, it's shown in movies, very ideal manager, ideal this thing, based on values, and all the laborers will die for him. All these things are whatever is not possible in reality. Larger than life, we say, whatever is not possible in reality, they are shown in movies. Psychologically, because man does not see all those things practically. So when he goes and watches movie, he likes it because it's larger than life. Whatever. And unfortunately, carried away with all those larger. Now coming to the point, the foreman has to start the production and run the production. Too many orders are there, for example. This labor, ahankara, ego, lower ego, not the aham self. Lower ego will say, वो जीएम पागल है, वो तो कैबिन के अंदर बैठा रहता है, उसको क्या मालूम? What does that fellow know? Day in and day out we are working. We know everything, sir. You listen to us, sir. Don't go inside. He will mislead you. Now it is up to the supervisor whether he has to go by what this labor say or what the buddhi, the general manager says. He has to believe that the owner, God, the arbab, the God, has not given the buddhi just like that, not appointed the general managers just like that. He has some plan. He knows, he has the confidence in the GM, the buddhi, discriminative faculty. That is why he has appointed. So we have to make use of that. We have to take the ideas from there. We have to take the inputs from there. Then carry on with the production. Right? This is the role of the buddhi, general manager. So we will run through the production process. Few of you are in manufacturing industry, he knows. The owner of the factory, God. He has hired, hierarchy-wise, he has hired the general manager, discriminative intellect, and kept him at a high position. And hence, the mind supervisor must use the expertise of the intellect, general manager. Always consult the discriminative intellect buddhi before taking any material thoughts for processing in the factory mind through the apparatus, through the machines, karma indriyas, so as to get the quality products. Kriyamana karma, white arrows. Right? Exactly opposite thing may happen when instead of going high towards up, looking upwards towards the general manager, the mind being at the middle, supervisor, it comes down and takes the inputs from the labors. Ahankara, colored ego. Then there is all possibility that the production may fail and the products may not pass QC. Very simple. This example is going to remain with you forever. Okay. Buddhi and discrimination. We have to deal a little more about discrimination because very important. We will see what Swami says about discrimination. The traditional number of created beings is 8.4 million or 84 lakhs. And man is the final item of the evolutionary procession, karma in Hindi. But why did the number stop at 8.4 million? It stopped because man is the zenith, the fullness. He is the Madhava, in fact. Though he has ignored the truth and holds fast to the belief that he is just a Manava, man. He is endowed with Manas Buddhi Chitta Ahankara. All four in an integrated personality, whereas the birds and the beasts and all other species have mostly mind with the ego alone. The lives of the later are controlled around the desires and demands, the animals. They are devoid of the general manager intellect. But man has the capacity to follow Satya Dharma Shanti Prema Ahimsa. Man alone has all this. If he does not evince, now the master is holding a danda and says, towards the last, many times Swami's words may be very much required, but may not be pleasing. Okay. Just now he has been dealing with some Divyatman. He had to be very so-called apparently harsh, and then he clarified. See, there are two things, Shreyas and prayers. Good and pleasant. From here, only what is good for you will emerge. It may not be pleasing to you at all. So Swami says, if he does not evince that capacity and develop it, he is as bad as a Vanara or a Bhanava, ape or ogle. When man was created, there remained nothing higher to create. So Lord stopped at that. He is the pinnacle of the evolution. Why? Because of one single thing, he has been given this intellect, discrimination. So, in management theory, we called authority and responsibility with it. The responsibility commensurates with the authority level. The laborers will have a lesser responsibility. The general manager will have a higher responsibility. Similarly, since all other animal and they are not given this GM portion is not there, they are not bestowed with discrimination, they don't carry on the karmic effects. They don't have the don't have the choice to decide what is right or what is wrong. They just go by impulse, they just go by instincts, and whatever is required, they will have it and finish it. Lesser authority, lesser responsibility. So, all previous species, they don't have discriminative intellect, so no karma suffering. But man, highest authority, has the general manager equipment with him, discrimination. He must use it properly. So he has to have the karmic balance, red or white arrows. If he, depending upon how much he is using for kriyamana karma arrows, right? More authority, more you have been given the priceless discrimination, so you will have to use it, otherwise you have banned it. God is not there in the picture, he has given you the intellect. Now coming to the most important part. Ego can be explained in two ways. Look at this picture, then he will explain. You see the same house, one is without any coloring, and the other the same house with coloring, right? Man in reality is like that, the house without coloring, pure aham, self. Okay, that aham is in everyone, pure aham. The higher ahankara, higher ego. But he on his own, how he on his own, that we are going to study now. He on his own ends up coloring the aham with so many things that the original true image or true nature of the house that gets hidden inside, and the house appears with all colorings. This is the lower ego, the painted house, colored house. This is the lower ego, ahankara, which is in that manas buddhi chitta ahankara. Ahankara refers to this lower ego. So how the house has been colored. Man has colored his aham self with ego. Now we are going to see that man has covered the pure self, that house, with 5 colorings. 5 colorings. Ego is not one. We say na the person is full of ego. There are 5 manifestation, 5 coloring of ego. Sage Patanjali has explained this in Yoga Sutras. We are taking chapter 2, Sadhana part, as the basis. From the verses, we are going to go through 5 colorings of ego, which can be a major revelation for those who have not got into detail. Most of us might not have gone into detail. Yoga Sutra says, avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, abhinivesha, pancha klesha. Avidya, spiritual ignorance. Asmita, each one manifests from its predecessor. Avidya, spiritual ignorance. Asmita, because of the spiritual ignorance, associating with I-ness, mine, I, mine. This is asmita. This is due to the avidya. And due to the avidya and asmita, the next two comes raga, attraction, dvesha, negative attraction, aversion or hatred, pushing away. Abhinivesha is what was explained when the curtains were to be opened and Sundar was to go out and address thousands of speaking. Swami asked him, "Are you afraid?" He said, "Yes, Swami," while Swami was holding his hand. Then Swami says, "I am here, why you are afraid?" Okay. Abhinivesha, resistance to loss, resistance to change, fear of change, fear of death, desire for continuity, clinging on to the present. Pancha, we all know. 5. Klesha, colored. 5 kleshas, 5 colorings. 5 afflictions. Okay. Now, 1 minute. 1 minute. Avidya. Avidya, Yoga Sutra says, अविद्या क्षेत्रम उत्तरेषां प्रसुप्त तनु विचिन्न उदाहरणाम. Translation is, the root, forgetting or ignorance of the nature of things, avidya, is the breeding ground for the other 5 colorings, and each of them, this prashupta tanu vichinna udarana, dormant or inactive, attenuated or weakened, interrupted or separated from temporarily, or very active and producing thoughts or action in various degrees. We are keeping this flat. We will address it at the end. Then, avidya, further on avidya, this Yoga Sutra says, anitya, ashuchi, dukkha, anatmashu, nitya, shuchi, sukha, atma, kyatir, avidya. A combination of eternal and transitory, purity and impurity, shuchi, ashuchi, joy and suffering, sukha, dukkha, or mutable and immutable in human beings are all referred to as a lack of insight, ignorance, avidya. 4 things are taught in avidya: temporary versus eternal, impure, pure, painful, pleasureful, non-self, self. Maybe appearing as new words for some few of you, but it will be very clear in 5 minutes. We will deal with this 4. Seeing the temporary as eternal. For example, thinking that the earth and the moon are permanent, or behaving as if our possessions are permanently ours, forgetting that all of them will go, and that our so-called ownership is only relative. Seeing the temporary as eternal. Mistaking the impure for pure. For example, believing that our thought, emotions, opinions, judgments, motive, etc., we think that they are all pure, healthy, whereas they are actually mixture of tendencies, vasanas. They are impure by their very nature because they are mixed with our samskara vasanas. But we think we are pure. Confusing the painful to be pleasurable. In our social, family, cultural settings, there are many actions, not getting into detail, that seems pleasure-filled in the moment, only later to be found that they were all cause for pain. Now coming to the crux of avidya, the main avidya. The all other 3, you can say, children of this mother avidya. Taking the non-self to be self. For example, we may think of our country, name, body, profession, all these things to be I am. Whereas confusing all this with our eternal, true identity, Atman, self. This is avidya. You were created pure, you were created as perfect as God. The first ignorance, this is the first ego, subtlest ego, last to leave you before you attain self-realization. This does not go. Spiritual ignorance does not leave. Avidya, because it is so subtle, so subtle, so subtle. Like the smaller, the minute the part of the body becomes, the molecules, atom, neutrons, the more powerful microscope is required. So, to identify this avidya, this ignorance, spiritual ignorance, taking my temporary identity, non-self, this BMI, to be, that is, it is not even, that comes in asmita. Avidya is actually, it is not assuming something, this is ignorance. Assuming comes in asmita. BMI relation comes in asmita. Avidya is ignorance of my true identity. Is avidya. How the God has created me, as the integral, indivisible part in the pure canvas only, not as objects. This ignorance of my indivisible, integral association with the pure awareness. This is avidya. Now you can relate. Taking pain to be pleasure, taking impure to be pure, all those things are manifestations of this main avidya. In yoga, in Vedanta, everywhere avidya means this. Ignoring our true identity. Vidya, avidya. Perfect knowledge, vidya, is the knowing, the perfect knowledge, jnanam, of the Satyam Jnanam Anantam. The perfect jnanam, vidya, is that I and he are one. And not vidya. Avidya is like the wave and the ocean. First satsang we had. The wave assuming its different identity, that is asmita, we are coming to that. The wave being ignorant of the truth that it has no existence apart from the substratum water, that is avidya. Okay. Now coming to asmita. Yoga Sutra says, Drik Darshana Shaktayo Ekatmata Iva Asmita. Confusing the immutable core with the transient shell is referred to as identification with the immutable asmita. Now, avidya is ignorance. Asmita is misapprehension, which is coming due to the ignorance. The wave is ignorant of the truth that it has no separate identity apart from the substratum ocean water avidya. The next, the wave assuming that I have this identity, asmita. Man being born divine, pure divine, you are divine, you are divine, you are divine, you are divine. Every Acharya says, every avatar says, Upanishad says, Bhagavad Gita says, all scripture says. When man forgets, man is ignorant of his inner divinity, avidya. Second, so he is ignorant of something, so he has to be knowing something else, which is not true. So avidya, ignorant. Now he assumes an identity for himself, asmita. I am not divine, ignorance. I am this man with this nature, asmita. Avidya does not have any characteristic. Avidya is just ignorance. Asmita starts with a definite identity, characteristic, nature. Then the asmita gets is aware of the manas buddhi chitta ahankar. With the asmita, man is aware of the manas buddhi chitta ahankar. Suppose, be truthful. Just because master has taught you that you are pure divine self, don't give what can be pleasing to the master. If just very pure, open, not now, maybe now in the pure, this aura, this satsang, this thing, you may come out with the truth. But you are in your workplace or you are in a place, environment full of agitation, and somebody asks you, who are you? Definitely, you are not, in most probability, you are not going to say that I am pure Atman self. So you are going to assume some identity and you are going to say that I am this, I am this, I am this, I am this, I am this. Right? Asmita. So what has happened as though just for understanding purpose, not real understanding purpose. It is as though that the pure consciousness that you are that has fallen asleep. Just imagine, just for clarity purpose. So the pure consciousness is asleep. Man, verily the pure consciousness, since that part of the man, pure consciousness is asleep. Therefore, so this is veil. Avarna Vikshepa and all is there in Vasana sessions. So, so the pure consciousness is asleep. So when you ask, who are you? I am so and so and so and so. I this. I have this background. I do this. I have achieved this. That. So pure consciousness is asleep. So something else is awake now. Your misconstrued identity. This is asmita, ignorance. Suppose you are in a dream. In dream, you see so many people in your dream, but when you get up, you know that they are all not there. Exactly for man, this ignorance is happening day in and day out. Just like in dream, in the waking state, he is seeing so many things and believing that they are all true, including his false identity. That I am so and so, Mr. Satyamurthy, CEO of so and so, husband of so and so, father of so and so, with this background, ta. Okay? When you are awake from the dream, you know that all the things, including you yourself, when you have seen yourself in the dream as a part, as an actor in the dream, all those things you laugh away. Unmindful of the fact that in the waking state, although exactly same thing is happening day in and day out. The dream is cleared on waking up. But the ignorance in the waking state can be cleared only through awakening, through spiritual sadhana, retracing and going back to crossing asmita, retracing avidya, and reaching to vidya, perfect vidya, that I am, aham brahmasmi. So you can think that, okay, though I am experiencing so many things separate from me, maybe this is all illusion, just like I have so many illusions in dream. Maybe the real I is pure consciousness, which is one without a second. Maybe he is telling, reminding again. Maybe all these things are illusion. So, being aware of our ignorance throughout the day, this session you take it, all the understanding, all the contemplation, all things are deliberate here in these sessions. Karma sessions and MBA session and even Vasana sessions. These are all the initial triggers where it requires lot of deliberations. You cannot contemplate or meditate and undertake Nividhyasana on this session. You have to deliberate using your intellect. You have to know all these things and you have to be aware. You be aware of your asmita. You closely watch your ignorance. Where all you are seeing a wrong thing to be right. You are seeing a temporary thing to be right. Spiritual ignorance by watching, by continuous mananam on this, then you can go to the advanced sessions for Nididhyasana. Okay. Now, dangerous ego, raga, attachment. Each one is grosser than its earlier one. So, when you are asked who are you, don't realize all. Only when you are asked who are you, you just spell out that I am so and so and that, and after that you sit back. Oh, okay. Like in the dream, I saw so many things, including me, but on waking up, I realized it was all useless illusion. Maybe whatever I have told about myself to this person, they were all illusion. Maybe you sit back, relax and enjoy, says the air hostess. You sit back, relax, and realize that maybe I told all this wrong illusion. But when you tell your false identity, you don't realize. So it is subtle. It is avidya is subtlest ignorance. Nobody will ever declare that I am filled with avidya, ignorance. It requires lot of boldness. You can tell that only to someone you have surrendered. That is how the role of the Guru in the path of Jnana comes, or God in the path of devotion. There only aparadha kshama karu, Sai. Okay, so there only you can spell out about your avidya. Yes, Master, I am full of spiritual ignorance. You just take me. Then, like Yukteswar took Mukunda fully, like Thakur took Narendra fully into his custody. Like Shivananda took Krishnanandaji fully under his custody and groomed. The Guru teaches, the Guru gives his vision of wisdom, Vidya, and he teaches the disciple to see and perceive the world and also himself through the vision of the Guru. That is the role of the Guru. And that is the role of God in the path of divinity. Unless you surrender to someone, you can never ever tell that I am filled with spiritual ignorance. Whereas till realization, everyone, come on, let us be very clear. Till we attain self-realization, we are all filled with spiritual ignorance. 101%. But do we have that boldness? Do we have that genuineness to tell that nobody knows? No, no. Who told? I am studying Bhagavad Gita, I am studying Upanishad, I am doing this, I am doing this, I am doing this, I am progressing, I have reached self-realization. Because this is the larger, like we enjoy movie because it's larger than life. All these things we say because we are not this. So we get lot of happiness in telling that we are already realized. Okay. Now coming to Rag. Okay, he has to be time conscious now. Sukha Anushayi Raga. The presumption that happiness depends on external circumstances is referred to as desire. Attachment, we will just cover the Raga, Dvesha, Abhinivesha and close today. Rest we can take tomorrow. There are certain things which have to be explained. We will leave it. Already it's time to take. When the session happens for core sadhakas, his eyes never open. So all this time factor and all is not. Now he has to be so conscious about the time factor. Attachment is a separate modification of mind, which follows the rising of memory of pleasure. Sukha Anushayi Raga, it says. Okay. So you have had some experience through the Karmendriyas and Jnanendriyas taking it back. You have had some pleasurable, not good, pleasurable experiences in the past. So your mind, fueled by some X factor, it is craving for that pleasurable, that memory is triggering us to go in for that pleasurable experience again and again and again. This X factor which is triggering this memory to approach and work for getting that pleasurable experience. This X factor is raga, attachment. Raga follows avidya, asmita. Why? Because I have forgotten that I am divine. Now I am filled with asmita, that I am Mr. Satyamurti. So I have had some experience which gave me a lot of pleasure. My attachment towards that pleasurable experience is triggering that memory again, catching that memory of that previous experience, and my attachment towards that object is pulling, is telling to the Manas supervisor, listen to me, don't listen to the general manager intellect, Buddhi. Listen to me, go use your Karmendriyas, approach that same object for the same repetition of that pleasurable experience. This is attachment, raga. Attachment is not bad. If you are attached, if you like, liking is not bad. If you have had a sugar candy, it was very sweet, you had a good experience, till that it is okay. It is not bad. It is an obstacle in sadhana, but it need not always be bad. Okay. Okay, initially you have had a good experience of candy. Okay. This is the first wave. This is okay. What is harmful is the second wave of attachment, when you are reviving your memory of the the second stroke. You are reviving the memory of your previous experience of that sugar candy, and you get desperate. The second wave is dangerous. First wave is not dangerous. It's obstacle. It's not bad. But reviving the memory and craving for that experience again and again, this part of the attachment is bad. First wave, the second wave is bad. He will not get into a lower level. You think about your experience in some relationship. Okay, more than the experience, again the memory, revival of the memory, and the craving and driving your mind, blinding your discrimination to going for that experience again and again. That is bad. Raga, dangerous, blinds us in our spiritual sadhana. Bhagavad Gita verse is there, you all may be knowing. When a man constantly thinks about objects, attachment for those objects arises. From attachment is born desire, and from desire is born anger. From anger comes delusion. From delusion comes loss of memory. From loss of memory comes destruction of intellect. And once the intellect is destroyed, he perishes. Second chapter. Now a person has thoughts about purchasing a second hand. We are going the same sequence of the Bhagavad Gita verse. When you listen again, you can relate to it. A person has thought about purchasing a second hand. He's getting attached to that car deal. He is developing a desire to own that car. Okay, he has purchased, finished. Second wave. Now what happens? The car breaks up or meets up with the accident, or someone mischievously makes scratches in the car. He gets angry. So the sequence is thought, attachment, desire, anger. He is angry. Then in that anger, he completely loses his equanimity, delusion. Loses his equanimity. How he loses equanimity? He forgets that the family members have nothing to do with what has scratches or accident that has happened. He starts shouting at his family members near and near. Delusion. And in the delusion, discrimination is lost. He fails using his discriminative intellect. And then the family environment is agitated. And the perishing here is the perishing of the peace. The peace is lost. Where raga has started and where it, to up to what devastating level it has taken. Dvesha. He is not chanting the Sanskrit verse, fast he is going. Dvesha is just the opposite of raga. Everything is the same. The memory is the same. And the pushing the mind propelled by the bad experience got earlier, propelling the mind and enslaving the mind to approach the same situation, same environment with hatred. That is dvesha. Dvesha is also an attachment, it's a negative attachment. We say Sukha Anushayi Raga. Here it is Dukha Anushayi Raga. That's it. Aversion is a form of attachment. Okay. We will leave what Shivanandaji says about this. Now come to Abhinivesha. Even for those people who are learned, there is an ever flowing, firmly established love for continuation and a fear of discontinuation, fear of change, abhinivesha. This is subtler than ragadvesha. Man lives in this sphere of change from dawn to dusk, unless till the time he takes up his sadhana sincerely. Our home, our existing pattern, existing comforts in the home, the way, our bed, our office space, the way we work, the way we deal with people, the way we undertake small should put 5-10 minutes spiritual this thing, mantra recitation or whatever we are at present, we want that those things to continue like that. Taking from the most mundane things to even spiritual sadhana. We just want things to continue because this is because of the sanskara, vasanas. And if any threat is imposed on that if we are facing any threat that this existing pattern, existing comfort level, existing level of our life in all respects, it may be disturbed and we are going to, and we may be pushed into an unknown territory for a change. Like Sundar was from behind the curtain from the comfort level, he was to go outside and suddenly address thousands of people. From an existing comfort level to an known comfort level to an unknown territory, unknown experience, unknown happening. This is the fear of change, abhinivesha. If you sit and list after this satsang, last 6 months you can note some 50 things in which you have had this fear, even in sadhana. Guruji is teaching so many things. Maybe he has experienced all these things, but I have to leave my routine. I have to take out some 2 hours from my routine, from my life. I have to skip the serial, or I have to skip the social these things, or I have to cut short these things. I have to take up all those things. But I am very comfortable now with little bhajan, little this. 2-3 hours I have this thing. Whether I will get the same experience he is promised because he has got the experience, whether I will get that, abhinivesha, fear of change. So love for continue expressed as fear of death, because death is the ultimate change in your one fatal change in your life. So Abhinav has told us fear of it is actually fear of change. Ocean theory, the fear that wave had, I have risen to the crescendo, now I am receding, I am going back, now I will hit the shore, now I will die. Fear of change, abhinivesha. And all other fears we can handle with the spiritual sadhana. But if there is fear of change in the sadhana itself, that is what he told that Swami ignored him while he was in the hostel. He changed that expression of the Swami's ignoring, and he saw ignoring his spiritual endeavor. It is like if we go, everybody, we can go to Palanhar. जिसका कोई नहीं उसका खुदा होता है. So we can go to the God. Suppose God even forsake us, He gives us up. Where we will go? Like that. For all other fears that can be handled by spiritual sadhana. If there is fear of change in spiritual sadhana, there is no respite for. There is no remedy. No antidote for that. No medicine for that. We'll go fast, skipping certain things. Whenever he says sage from Ananda Kutir, sage from Rishikesh, Brahma Rishi, know that is Shivananda. All these expressions is going to be used continuously in sessions. Okay, Ananda Kutir roar. Only who has conquered the ignorance and realized can roar like this. For all this journey from avidya to asmita, raga, dvesha, abhinivesha, perishing, what he says, from avidya emanates, he's slightly changing. Avidya emanates, he's slightly changing, but it is the same thing. From avidya emanates aviveka, non-discrimination. From he has brought in aviveka in between. From aviveka originates abhimana, asmita. From abhimana emanates raga, asmita. From abhimana emanates raga dvesha. From raga dvesha. From raga dvesha comes karma. From karma comes body. From body comes misery. This is the chain of bondage with all the links. This is the chain of misery. What is the remedy? Roars. He roars with such thunderous roar, which they reach all the entire, with such thunderous roar, which they reach all the entire Uttaranchal Rishikesh mountains echo. If you don't want misery, do not take a body. If you do not want body, do not do karma, because for clearing karmas only you are born again and again. Ramana fills with the Sanchita, all those things. If you do not want karma, give up raga dvesha. If you want to give up raga dvesha, give up abhimana, asmita. If you want to give up abhimana, then give up ignorance, avidya. So says Shivananda, just adding this. So says Oram. Oram. He says Saumya, child. Oram. All the devotees also he will address with only one of these deities' names. Hare Krishna, Oram, Gopala, like that he will say. Or Saumya, child, he will say. Oram. If you do not want ignorance, last step, if you do not want avidya, if you do not want ignorance, get Brahmajnana. Chitta, we will cover it and finish it. Chitta is the memory bank. We will cut it short because enough has been explained about samskara, vasanas in the karma session. So the impact of all your experiences in an action, they are all stored in the chitta. And continuously each storage is adding to your samskaras. Infinite samskaras we are adding daily. If we are not taking up action with discrimination into GM, buddhi, and if we are using raga and dvesha, 5 colorings, avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, abhinivesha, we are adding to our chitta, we are adding to our samskaras day in and day out. Reverse of it, if we are using only pure intellect, we are adding to good samskaras day in and day out, which will go on to fetch us white arrows when we use our discrimination for aiming the kriyamana karma arrows. So 4 stages, this is the last. 4 stages of coloring, we said we will leave it, we will deal with the end. Active, aroused, udarana. The thought pattern is very active at the surface of the mind and it influences the karmendriyas. Distanced, separated, vichinna. is a thought pattern less active right now due to there being some distance or separation. We are not close to that object. We have moved to some other country, some other place, something. So it is separated for the time being, but it can come up. It can go to active anytime once we go close again to the object, again to the same environment. Tanu, weekend, it has been not temporarily interrupted but weakened. There are some memories remaining of the past experience, but it is so weak that it is not capable of giving you fresh vigor to undertake the same experience again. So it is weakened. Dormant. It is almost forgotten. It is somewhere lying down. Once in 10 years, that a memory of that experience may come. Dormant. So he says, what is if you have to forget avidya, ignorance, then get brahmajnana. So, brothers and sisters, tomorrow we shall go deeper into the coordination between the four spokes, manas, buddhi, chitta, ahankara, how one plays with the other, how each influences the mind, and what influences the mind, and what are the repercussions of the mind, and what is the solution to get, how to go and approach the discriminating intellect always, and how to use this understanding effectively, initially deliberately, later on through meditation to progress towards that only goal, self realization. Today's and tomorrow's both and karma, they are going to be with you for lifetime, because as long as we are in the practical world, we have to be knowing all these things very clearly, because ignorance has to be removed for Hridaya Nivasi Swami to be called, invited, and to stay with our. He is there. He is there. In Atma mein bas jao Baba, he wrote, it is not that he is not there and you are going to call him to stay here. Atma mein bas jao Baba, ghar ghar mein bas jao Baba. That means you give me the awakening to realize that you are ever inside as Atman. Okay? For that, Kalavam Katru Mara told Avayar, even the act of theft and all bad things you learn, and then you will learn how to get rid of that. So all this ignorance we have to learn. We should be perfectly knowing all these things so that we know we have to really get rid of all these things for Bhagavan to come and get installed in our heart, and for us to say Radha Hridaya Nivasi, Hey Krishna, Ghanashyama Sundara. Tomorrow is going to be much more profound. Today concepts, tomorrow the final subtler part of them. Okay? Jai Sai Ram. Hari Om. That's it. You live with this today so that you come fresh for starting from where we left today. Right? Manameva manushyanam karanam bandhamokshayo. One mind. Turn inward, the key, it is for liberation. Turn outward, it is for bondage. Swami has told. Correct? Lifetime lessons, all these things, you will not get easily. They are all there. But to take them together and serve you in an easy, digestible form, that is the mission. That is what Swami has commanded. Serve them, serve them, serve them. How much you are taking the service? Ask yourself. He cannot judge.